So maybe you're new to the hobby and you're looking for a light for that brand new fish tank. Or maybe you've got a few tanks already and you're looking for a light that won't break the bank. If that's the case, this is the place to be, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Beamswork Light. Now we've used these lights in our fish room for about a year. We've got 4 of them, 4 different sizes. So I think now would be a good time to review them and show you what we found. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We do a lot of comparison videos, a lot of product reviews, as well as species profiles. We've got about 60 tanks in the fish room, so there's always something going on. So this is one of our Beamswork lights. This happens to be a 36-inch light. We also have them in 18 inches, 24 inches, this one in 36 and 48 inches. And so we've used a number of them over the last year. And one of the reasons why we wanted to try them is because lighting can get expensive. We talked about the cost of running a fish room this size. I will put a link in the upper right-hand corner to that video. And what was surprising in that video is the amount of money it took to illuminate all these fish tanks. Now there are really cheap DIY ways to do lights in a fish room or for a fish tank. We've tended to stay away from that. We've purchased lights online, and this is a light that costs a little bit less money than some of the other lights that we use. We've also done a video on why lighting is so important. In fact, I will put that card in the upper right hand corner and that video link in the description below. I think that will give you a lot more information as to why lighting is so important and illustrate that in some really good examples. In that video, we talked about how in our fish room, the vast majority of lights that we use are Finnick Stingray. Well, today we're going to be looking at this Beamswork light. It's considerably cheaper. And now the question is, well, what did it make the fish look like and how's the quality? All right, so we've got this light here. Again, this is the 36-inch light. Some things to note right away. One, it's relatively slim. If you see here, it's not as slim as some of the higher end lights, but it is a relatively slim look. It is a little bit wider than a lot of the LEDs that are more expensive. When it comes to quality, you can feel the quality is not quite the same as some of the higher quality lights in terms of the housing for the lights and the plastic on the underside. But so far, over the last year, we haven't had any issues with the physical quality of the lights themselves. The Beamsworks lights that we are reviewing in this video are full spectrum lights, and they are at least marketed for planted tanks. Okay, so let's talk about cost. After all, this is a budget-minded light. How much money are you going to save? Well, again, we've got 4 different sizes, and those sizes in terms of cost, a 24-inch light at the time of this video was somewhere right around $27 or $28. You go to a 48-inch light, which we have on our Geophagus tank, and that was a little bit more expensive. That was somewhere around the mid-40s. I will put an affiliate link down in the description below. If you want to check those lights out, if you're interested in them, we'll have that information in the description. So when it comes to the cost, they are considerably cheaper than some of the more high-end lights. But what are you getting for that cost? Obviously, one of the most important things is quality. At least for us, in the last year or so that we've had them, we've had 0 issues. They've worked like a champ. They're running. Now, in terms of long-term reliability, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, is that going to hold up? That is not a question we can answer here because we've only had them for a year. All right, so we've talked about the cost of the light. We've talked a little bit about the quality, but what do the fish look like? What will your tank look like after you install this light? So we've got these lights on a number of tanks. I'm going to highlight 2 of them for you. The first one is our 55-gallon Geophagus Tapajos tank. Now, as we're looking at this, you can see the light distribution is pretty decent. So the light is advertised as a 10,000 K spectrum light. And we can see here the fish look pretty good. One thing I will say on the 55-gallon, there's a little bit of duckweed at the top, so that tends to dim the light just a little bit. I don't mind that duckweed being there, but just take that into consideration. Now, we switch over to the Cyprichromis Leptosoma tank, and we can see here this is a 36-inch tank. It's a little bit shorter, but again, we're getting really good colors throughout our fish tank. One of the things I would caution against, if you have a very, very shallow tank with a light that's budget-minded as this one is, you might start to see some spotlighting. And what that means is if you look at the light itself, we've got white light, we've got blue, we've got green, and we've got red. In a very shallow tank, that light tends to not spread out very easily, and so sometimes you'll get different color spots on your substrate. I have found that only happens in very, very shallow tanks. We've had none of those issues with our 40-gallon breeders, our 55 gallons, and even our standard 20 highs and our 37-gallon. But if you have a 20 long or something a little bit shorter, that's something that you may have to deal with a little bit. Now, the light is marketed as a freshwater planted tank light. So we would expect that it should be able to grow plants. Our experience has been, yes, it grows low to lowish medium light plants fairly well. So things like hornwort, wisteria, water sprite, crypts, anubias, java fern, java moss. We've had no issues growing those plants utilizing these lights. We also don't use CO2, but we do fertilize both with root tabs and liquid fertilizer when necessary. In fact, we've done an entire video on how we care for plants. I will put that in the upper right hand corner as well as in the description below if you want more information. So what other features does the light have? It does have the ability to integrate a timer. The timer is sold separately. I also like the fact that it is a 2-mode light in the sense that you get both daytime lighting and night lighting. And then the last thing is it's got extendable arms. So even if the light doesn't fit perfectly in terms of the entire width of the tank, the extendable arms go a long way in making sure the light fits securely at the top of the tank. Now, in terms of being able to resist water, that is not something we've tested. I didn't throw the light in a tank and see if it would still work or anything like that, or pour water all over it. Generally speaking, we try to be very careful around our tanks and making sure that the electrical stuff does not wind up in the tank. But like I said, so far, quality-wise, we have had 0 issues. So I guess the bottom line is, are they worth the money? For the 4 lights that we purchased about a year or so ago, I would say so far, yes. They've worked well, the fish look decent, they are growing low light plants, and we haven't had any quality issues as of yet. As always, when we do product reviews, I would really love to hear from you, the viewer. If you've had experience with these lights, what was it? Whether it's positive or negative, I really like our comment section to be a place where people can go to get more information. So leave that down there in the comment section below if you've had either good or bad experiences with these lights. If you found this video helpful, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.